Hello, and welcome to another episode of Voices of the Disabled, brought to you by Adapt of Chicago Productions. I am Joel Margolis, your host, and with me today is Ms. Ruby Hawkins Bradford, an artist who is one of the artists working at Project Onward, an artist studio and gallery which hosts a variety of artists who have developmental and mental disabilities. Ruby, could you tell me, when did you first started painting at Project Onward?
That's before I started, after I aged out, grade 37, at the School Matters.
You've been at Project Onward a number of years?
Yes, and I started the water paint late 1997 for almost 20 years later. And today, the Fizz of Chicago book, remember, we did a wonderful Superman colors. I did Superman background, and 11 years ago with Flying Superman Chicago, with the classic Superman.
When you paint Superman, does he always have a red cape, or could the cape be a different color?
They have a bright red, the Action Comics #1 in 1938. They have a small S.
And you paint the S on his chest in all of your pictures of him?
Just the large S.
Okay. And do you always have Superman in a blue uniform?
Yeah, it was blue, royal blue, and sky blue.
Sometimes royal blue, sometimes sky blue.
I like the royal blue better.
You like the royal blue better. Now, a number of different actors have played Superman. Do you have a favorite amongst the various actors who have played him?
Here's all the lists. Kirk Allen was the first Superman in 1948, the Superman series to 1950. George Reeves II to play the French Superman in the early 50s. The late Christopher Reeve played Superman 1978 to the last Superman 4 in 1987.
So you have quite a list there. Do you have a favorite amongst all of those Superman actors?
I met Dean Cain a few times about almost 5 years ago.
Oh, you met one of the Superman actors.
I met Gerard Christopher from Superboy. Remember we showed behind the first, the late Christopher Reeve's costume. I liked the logo, but I had his jacket at home.
Okay.
And this is the Trooper Guard. I did that about almost 5 years ago.
This, though, is not a picture of Superman. This is a picture
Prince Charles, the Queen's older son.
The older son of Queen Elizabeth. So this is Prince Charles as a royal trooper guard for the Queen's birthday.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you painted Prince Charles in some other places, too. Is this also Prince Charles?
Yeah.
Okay. And here we have Prince Charles in a blue suit with a blue and red tie. Do you usually have Prince Charles in a blue suit?
Sometimes, but he wears black.
Sometimes he wears black. Okay.
And we didn't show us the last time. That's when Prince Charles and the late Mayor Michael Blinick, they visit inside the Board of Trade.
So this is Prince Charles visiting Chicago?
Yeah, 1977.
Okay. And have you painted other members of the British royal family?
Just Prince William and Harry.
So you've done Prince William and Prince Harry as well? Okay.
For a while.
For a while. And this picture
is Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge.
This is Prince William, Duke of Cambridge. Okay. Can I ask, how often do you go to Project Onward to paint?
For almost 13 years.
But how many days a week do you go there?
4 days.
4 days. And when you go, are you there most of the day?
Yeah, I don't like staying out when it's late. And remember we showed a picture of my mom.
And how do you get to Project Onward?
By the 35th bus from the Red Line.
So you take the Red Line and then you take the 35 bus. You're there most of the day, and then you take the bus and the Red Line home.
I stop by downtown sometimes at the Grand Credit Comics.
Ah, all right.
And speaking...
And what do we have here, Ruby?
It's just a classic Superman.
A classic Superman in blue uniform with red and yellow decoration with the emblem and then the red cape, okay? So Superman is your specialty.
Yeah, just a classic Superman. Superman will be turned 80 next 2018.
So will you do something special for Superman's 80th birthday?
I've been Superman celebration 2012 since after my mom passed. I met Gerard Christopher. He got me a hug, and I met Dean King.
So you've met some of the people who were involved in portraying and publicizing Superman, okay? I want to thank you for coming and seeing us today, Ruby, which I very much appreciate, and I hope you'll return to visit us, okay? Because I'm sure that our audience members have enjoyed. And here we have it, on the artist herself, the Superman emblem, okay? Well, I don't think we have any climax better than that of the Superman emblem on the artist who paints Superman. Ruby, I want to thank you for coming in with us today, and I hope you'll return to see us another time. This is Joel Margolis for Adaptive Chicago Productions, thanking you for joining us, and hope that you'll join us again sometime soon.
My name is Tony Ward. I do woodworking projects for both the Suicide Prevention Art Fair and many other projects here throughout Hines with different departments. So the art community that's affiliated with suicide prevention, does numerous different types of media. We have poems, we have art pieces that are painted, we have woodworking projects, we have illustrations, people doing glass work, woodwork, of all forms of media in which the artist try to show what the issue of 20+ veterans committing suicide means to them. We are a very tight community in the aspect of most of us do see each other year after year, and we come back and do different pieces.
Well, that is very interesting. We had these social workers here earlier talking about the importance of art as a modality to wellness, a way of expressing yourself and also of working through the things that you need to work through in order to feel connected. How do you feel about that?
I have to agree with that sentiment 100%, because a few years ago, though I've been a woodworker for many years, someone once told me that I have artistic talent, and I didn't believe it until I really started trying to put art into my woodworking. Now, before I do a project, I sit back and I look at it, and I wonder, how can I take it to the next level? Mm-hmm. And it keeps me connected with both my physical problems I have here at Hines, and also keeps me occupied with thinking about how to take my next project to the next level.
Besides individual empowerment, you also work with a group of artists, and so you have this sort of community that reinforces each other.
Yes, we do, because, as I said, many of these artists, we come back year after year and do new pieces for the Suicide Prevention Art Fair, the Health Fair that's here at Hines. We work with Recreation Therapy to produce all sorts of pieces of art based upon whatever we feel at the time to keep us occupied and to show the public that we are a community also within Hines that's not medical.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much for speaking with us, and we're going to just take a look at the art that's right across the hall.
Please do. Thank you.
This is Will Cowan with Adaptive Chicago Productions. Our guest today is Kathleen Konopastik. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
That's correct, sir.
And she's a former principal. A lot of our really good principals have left the public school system earlier or as soon as they can, and she was one of them. And she was an excellent principal. And she's going to talk about the special ed programs and how they're affected by some of the board policies.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.
All right, the first question we'd like to ask you is, why did you retire from teaching? A lot of really gifted principals, or I should say, why did you retire from being a principal? A lot of good principals, and you were certainly one of them, left early or left as soon as they could. What's going on with the Board of Education right now?
Well, I thank you very much for your compliment, and I miss my school very much. I left because I had 5 chiefs in 5 years. I was a principal who deserved and earned independency, and it was not given to me. And we had a successful school. We continue to have a successful school, and I hope it's successful long after. But good principals or great principals, they don't leave because of their students. They leave because of management. And the Chicago Public Schools has a number of management issues from the top through all the way down. It trickles down, unfortunately, to hurt the schools of our city and eventually hurt the children.
Well, now, as you know, this is a disability issue program, and how is it hurting particularly the children that have special needs, in special education?
Right. Well, those children are not being serviced in the appropriate manner. I can give you some examples. I've been hit, I've been kicked, I've been bitten, I've been hurt by a number of our students who are in need of special services, but unfortunately, the Chicago Public Schools Office of Specialized Services, or ODLSS, or whatever they're calling it this year, does whatever it can, in my opinion, to postpone those services for students. And so it becomes very difficult. And what happens is that that student who has a severe disability is not placed in the proper placement, so that doesn't help the student to be successful. And then that student is placed with other students who do not match that disability, who are at a different level. And so the student then is causing problems and issues in the classroom for the other 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, or 40 students in the room.
Well, isn't there a special ed classroom where these students are put together? And I thought the number was limited there to like 12 or 15.
Well, there are 2 issues on that. Yes, you can have up to 15 depending on how many aides. But if you're not giving the proper amount of aides to work with those children, or for instance, if you're putting, let's say, an autistic child who cannot take any noise or has pica or is very sensitive to anyone near them, and then they're with other children who are cognitively delayed, that is not the least restrictive environment for that child. And so therefore, that child is even under more pressure, and the other students are coming up to them and that student and trying to be friendly, trying to be positive in their own right, and it's not working out for anyone. The other thing, too, is that we can have as high as 40 students in a classroom. So if we do have a student who has some severe behavior problems, they can cause chaos in that classroom, and they can cause it every day. And so CPS is trying not to put students in a day situation if that's what they deserve. Or in one case that I can think of, it took almost 2 years for us to get the proper services for the student that deserved them. And in the meantime, that student caused chaos in his regular classroom.
So what are your recommendations? What are the things what's the top priority right now?
Well, I think the top priority for the Chicago Public Schools is to be honest. Actually, I mean, for all of the benefit of our children and then as well as the taxpayers of the city. I mean, all you have to do is look at any Inspector General's report, but the most current one. They need to be honest. They need to represent not only just the children, but they need to represent the citizens of Chicago, and they can't just be a rubber stamp for our mayor, and that is a problem. And that's why we had something like 60 principals leave last June, and they didn't retire. They were leaving from absolutely wonderful schools. They were hardworking, talented, picked up principals by other states, other districts, and so that's an issue. Is you start with honesty and integrity. It seems, I get the impression that there's a bit of behind the smoke and mirrors, cloak and dagger, who's seen speaking with whom, who's giving out this contract, who's getting that contract, who owes to someone. So or who's obligated to someone else? What does the mayor want? I mean, that's usually the bottom line. What does the mayor want? Rather than really what is best for children. And there are economies of scale here. There are ways that they could save money, but they continue to give these contracts to people who make donations to the mayor and to the mayor's political campaign. So if they continue to do that, then that's a problem. And they could get honest, willing people to come in and say, this is what we need to do. Rod Esven actually comes to mind, although I think he might have been offered and may have turned them down. So I'll give him credit if they did offer him a job. But then I could see why Mr. Esven wouldn't want to work there, because they wouldn't listen to him anyway. And so those are simple ways of solving this problem. The other thing is consistency. If you keep changing people, like I went through 5 chiefs in 5 years, I know other principals who went through 7 chiefs in 7 years.
You said chiefs.
Chiefs, network chiefs. These are your immediate supervisors. And some of them come from areas they have no idea how special ed is run or how a Chicago public school is run and what's best for the school. Chicago Public Schools has a very bad habit of not listening to your generals, your sergeants, I won't say generals because that seems to be the upper brass there, but your sergeants on the ground, your soldiers on the ground. A good principal is going to listen to their teachers, and then a good network chief and their supervisors should be listening to the principals so that they know best. Principals know best what's happening in their building, and that's completely ignored. Completely ignored. And then time and money, because they're related, are wasted on professional development that has absolutely nothing to do with your school.
Now, can you give us an example of a well-run special ed class in contrast to maybe how it is right now, how they're run today? What is the result of all this?
Well, the result would be is that students in those classrooms are not getting the services that they deserve. There is more pressure placed on the assistants in there to clock every moment about what the student is doing. And not that observation doesn't have its place, it definitely does. But to have to do this every day and be on top of it moment after moment after moment, when you have 14 other children who need their diapers changed, who are vomiting, who are crying, the other day, there was one that was just released from a hospital with no doctor's note, but she still had the wristband on her arm, and nothing was given to the teachers or the staff as to what was going on with that child. And then she's sitting there with a fever. We can't get in touch with the parent, and she's crying. So one of the aides had to spend time with her rather than spending time with the other students. So, or if you have the student who has pica, and what he's doing is he's fighting other children to get past them so that he can get into a corner and eat dirt.
Now, can you define pica for us?
It's a problem where students have an obsessive habit of they'll pull off plaster or they'll pull off paint or tape or crayons and they'll eat it. I've actually seen even students who are obsessed with the alcohol sanitizer, and they actually want to lick that off their hands. And so you have to get it out of their way. You have to get it away from them. And you have one teacher in there with 15 to 18 students who all have these different needs and these different disabilities. And what happens with that is that then the children who you have a chance to work with because they don't have the extreme needs, you can't work with them because you're following around and trying to do your best and protect these children from hurting themselves. And it just becomes close to chaos, if you will. And that's why our special ed teachers they're haggard, They will be leaving as soon as they can in June with this bonus, and I don't blame them. And one of our biggest openings in the city of Chicago are for special education students because special education teachers, because they won't come to Chicago. And how can you blame them to be working under these circumstances?
What do you know of the special ed programs in other school systems, and how are they maybe superior to what's going on in Chicago?
Well, I can give you examples that I know for fact of students who ended up transferring out of my building and going into another school district. And also there are other parents, and there have been neighbors or acquaintances who have given me recommendations or have come to me for questions about special ed services. And they end up leaving the city. They end up going in the suburbs. And I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them, but I am absolutely amazed with how quickly the team gets together, the social worker, the school psychologist, the school nurse, with the parents. They get a program in place the next day, and then the students are given those services immediately, consistently, and appropriately. And they're put in environments where those services are helpful to them and their needs are met, rather than combining them with all sorts of different levels of disability that does not serve anyone.
Has any effort ever been made with the Chicago Public Schools, to call this to their attention and to correct it?
Oh, they're very well aware that that's going on. They're very well aware. Marquay Winston and someone else who just disappeared and went someplace else back to Ohio, they caught a situation where she had not done her research and she made statements that were incorrect. They continue to go through heads because they're looking for people who are going to do what they want to do in terms of saving money rather than helping children. And this is the other thing that's very sad to me that CPS uses, and Rahm Emanuel should be very well aware of this, and so should Mr. Claypool, is that they say, well, we see our children, our special ed children, and they're not making progress. It's like they get in and they never get out. Well, I've seen students get out, but the problem is that when you put these children in this kind of environment that does not allow them to work on their disability, does not allow them to grow and have positive student progress, then of course those students stay in there year after year because they're not getting their needs educationally, socially, and physically in many cases that they need. So of course you are creating this situation by not funding or defunding special education in this manner. And it's unprofessional and it hurts the children. The other thing, if I may, is that picking that up at the pre-K level as soon as possible, actually picking it up at the 2-month level, the 5-month level, the 6-month level. We have child parent centers. We don't have enough of them. We've had a state that isn't funding our schools. We have a city that isn't funding our schools because we have a TIF situation where we'd rather have money go to the hoteliers rather than money go to the schools. We're building more and newer schools when our population is falling year after year after year, and we're approving more charters every year. How does this not bankrupt the bank? And what happens is when the bank is empty, no one eats. No one is going to get a proper education. So it's no wonder to me, as a professional with Chicago Public Schools for 30 years, as well as a taxpayer and a 4th-generation Chicagoan, that we are having the problems that we are having.
Well, we thank you very much for your observations. And is there any last comments you'd like to make?
No, other than I was disappointed to see that the Senate might not take up the elected school board, even though it had passed the House, overwhelmingly so. So that's very much a disappointment, which says to me, and Mr. Emanuel, if I can say anything to him, he should actually allow the community to appoint, to give names to him to be appointed, and there should be at least so many that must be appointed with community support, not just yes people for Rahm Emanuel. That's not appropriate. And I guess that would be the last thing I would say. I wish our Chicago Public Schools well. We know that people are leaving the city in tens and hundreds and thousands, and I can understand why. And it's unfortunate because it hurts all of us. It hurts our tax base, and it hurts, it's hurtful to our students in our schools, and that's our #1 priority.